Hello everyone, in this video I'll be doing a tier list of the level 5 spells in Baldur's Gate 3. We have some really great spells here, and I've seen some other people's thoughts on these, and I have some different thoughts that I wanted to share on them, because there's some spells here that I think people are severely underrating, as well as some spells that just aren't as really good as it seems. So, the first one we're starting with here is Banishing Spite. So, this is only available to the Bard at level 10 Magical Secrets, is a level 5 spell. Now, the Paladin would normally get this at level 17, but that's not in the game. But what Banishing Smite does, it uses your action and your bonus action and a level 5 spell slot, already giving it a couple strikes against it. And it does force damage on your smites. It does 5d10 of force damage. Now, the issue with Banishing Smite is it's going to banish the target if they have anywhere from 1 to 49 health points. If they have 50 and above, it doesn't have that extra added benefit, and they're only banished for 2 turns. So, I would say it's probably a C tier option. It's very specific when it's going to bring a benefit to you to use. And the fact that it's using an action, a bonus action, and a level 5 spell slot is quite a steep price for the fact that if you get a target down to 1 to 49 health, typically you're able to attack it again and probably take it out of the battle. So while it does have some usefulness, that's why I'm going to be putting it into the C tier, it's not that amazing overall. Next, we have Cloud Kill, which a lot of people don't like. Now, this is available to wizards and spore druids. Where it really shines is when you have if you have a necromancer with a bunch of undead, you can cast Cloud Kill and it's not going to affect your undead. That is the only time I would ever use Cloud Kill. Now, for the people that aren't listening and see me put it in the B tier, there's only one time that I would ever use it, and that's if you're a necromancer or spore druid. I'm going to put it in the B tier, although a lot of people would say it's an F tier spell. It does have some use whenever you're running a necromancer or spore druid style playstyle, so I think it can be good in those instances, but outside of that, not that great. You can reposition the cloud every turn without expending a spell, which is nice, so it can have some usefulness, a very little bit of usefulness, so yeah, B tier for that. Next, we have Cone of Cold. Now, I see a lot of people trashing Cone of Cold. It hits in a large area. You can get this with the Magical Secrets Bard. I would highly recommend that because it's extremely good damage. An 8d8 of cold, and it can deal upwards of 64 damage at max. Now, where this really shines is with a Create Water team, because that 64 damage goes up to 128 damage at max. It hits in a large area, and cold damage is pretty good. So there's a lot of gear that benefits from cold as well. I have to put Cone of Cold in the S tier. Now, some people may disagree with me, but try out a Chain Lightning Cone of Cold style build and you'll understand. It has crazy damage output. I like to have like a Sorcerer, a Tempest Cleric, and a Bard. If the Sword Bard is level 10, it can take Cone of Cold. So you can have 3 people spamming your doubled damage from Wet applying vulnerability. Extremely powerful and underrated, I would say. Easy S tier. Next, we have Conjure Elemental, and this is also S tier because elementals are great. The minor elementals, you can get 2 ice methods, which will also add into that cold damage that I was talking about. But these two actually go together very well. I'd probably put Conjure Elemental ahead of it. There's the level 5 versions of, so you have Earth Elemental, Fire Elemental, and Air Elemental. I like the Water Elemental at level 5 because if you attack with its just normal fist attack, it can apply wet to targets. And when targets are wet, they will take that maximum damage. They'll take the high damage from Cone of Cold because it'll be doubled. So if you have a Conjure Elemental going in, slams the ground with water, it sets up water, you can use Cone of Cold to deal upwards of 128 damage to all the targets that are hit by that. So these two alone, game winners for sure. Definite really good spells. There's no deny in it. They're great. Next we have Contagion, our first F tier. So how this works is really weird. So Contagion, basically you cast it on someone and they have to fail 3 saving throws in a row for the effect to take hold. If they succeed 3 saving throws, nothing happens. You waste your level 5 spell slot. Goodbye. See you later. Contagion can have some it's very, very situational, and you're oftentimes just better using anything else for a level 5 spell slot than your Contagion. The Cazador fight, maybe it's useful there. Being able to apply this to them can benefit your party, but again, those 3 saving throws that it requires is just not that great overall. So yeah, I have to put that in the F tier. There's just a lot of better options. Now we got the Artistry of War. You can't see this awesome image here, but I would say this is another S tier. This is basically just your magic missile with extra damage. It can only be cast once per long rest. You can get this spell in the sorcerous sundries alongside Dethrone. I recommend this spell. It's a lot of fun. It has one of the coolest images. It looks kind of like the Rancor Call from Elden Ring. I think this is a really great spell. It could be A tier, it could be S tier, depending on how you view that, but I'm going to put it in the S tier because this spell is pretty great. I like these unique spells that only the wizard can get because it gives the wizard something that makes them feel a little bit better than a sorcerer, sorcerer is the best class in the game. Next we have Disruptive Wave. This is available to only the Light Cleric and the Tempest Cleric. And I guess a Sword Bard can take it as well, or a Bard in general can take it. I'm going to put in the A tier. So Disruptive Wave hits in a large area. It deals thunder damage, and it has the potential to knock creatures prone, and it can deal either necrotic or radiant damage alongside it, kind of like Spirit Guardians does. I think that's really great. The Cleric is a S tier class as well. That Cleric's really great, but getting Disruptive Wave makes a Tempest Cleric a pretty attractive option for damage because you can cast this and knock a bunch of creatures prone for your martial classes to go in and clobber them with. So yeah, it's really, really nice for that. It's a utility damage spell, and it's an exclusive spell to very few classes. So I'd recommend taking it or using it if you can get it. Next, we have Dethrone. Dethrone's another really, really great spell. It deals necrotic damage, but a whole ton of it. You tear out the weave and rip them apart from the inside out. This deals, I believe, is like I think it's 10d10 of necrotic damage plus 20 damage. It's a definite S tier. You can only cast it once per long rest. These two spells here, they're unique spells that you can only get from scrolls, and you can only cast once per long rest, but they're both awesome, so I have to put them in the S tier. I wish there was some other way that we could get them, but they both have pretty cool images there for the spells. And they have a good amount of damage too, so definitely a useful selection for your level 5 spells. Next we have Dispel Good and Evil. So this gives basically protection from good and evil, but better at level 5. But even at its best, it's an F tier. So this gives the otherworldly creatures, I'll just call them, the umbrella term for that. It gives them disadvantage on attack rolls against your party. Yeah, and I forget what else it does, but it's just not worth the level 5 spell slot for what it brings. You're almost just better using any other level 5 spell. Dispel Good and Evil, not that great. Dominate Person. This, I thought it was better, but the issue is if you attack the person that you dominate, or if they get attacked by someone else, they have to succeed a saving throw to be able to maintain your concentration on it. So Dominate Person, for that reason, is probably the top of the F tier. I just would never find much use for it in general. There's much better spells out there. It's not the worst spell in the game, but it's just not great. So F tier. Next, we have Flame Strike. This deals a 5d6 of fire and radiant damage. It hits in a small area. It's like a mini fireball cleric spell. I'm going to probably put it at the top of the C tier. It's not amazing. It may be B tier. Fire and radiant damage are okay, but fire is more resistant. So it's somewhere around there, but it's just not one that you're going to want to use often. Next, we have Greater Restoration. This removes blind, charm, stun. It's not great. There's so many other ways you can go about this. In a game where long rest is super common, our healing spells are just not that great, in all honesty. And there's also potions. That'll do what this does without wasting your precious level 5 spells. Next, we got Hold Monster. I don't see enough people rating this properly. This is an easy S tier. I'd probably say it's the second best spell, Conjure Elemental being the best in my opinion. Hold Monster, you can trivialize some of the Act 3 fights with this. It holds a creature in place, attacks within 3 meters or critical hits. You can upcast it at level 6 to do it to 2 creatures. It can trivialize some fights because Hold Person and Hold Monster, being able to shut down someone for 10 turns and make all attacks within 3 meters critical hits is huge. So yeah, some fights in this game are made easy with Hold Monster. It's incredibly satisfying as well. Next, we have Insect Plague. Now, this does 4d10 of piercing damage and creates difficult terrain. Not a lot of people love this. I see this being put in the F tiers often. I disagree. I think that this is an okay spell. Now, in Act 3, there's multiple ways to apply vulnerability to piercing damage, making this go from max 40 damage to max 80 damage. I want to put it in the B tier. Difficult Terrain's nice. It's a concentration spell, but the way that it shines is if you have the Blade of the First Blood, if you attack with that, it applies piercing to vulnerability to piercing damage, so you can double the damage there. Also, the Ballast Armor will give any creature within 3 meters of you vulnerability to piercing damage. So you can have Insect Plague deal a decent bit of damage there. I wouldn't recommend using this all the time. And typically, if you're a cleric, you're better off using Spirit Guardian's Upcast. But just know it does have some usefulness with any type of piercing damage focused build on your team. And the difficult terrain that it brings is nice too. Mass Cure Wounds. We're putting that in the F tier, as I said. It just doesn't do a whole lot compared to what other level 5 spells can do in a game where you can just grab a potion, throw it on the ground, and same thing as this spell would do. So if you want to even go one step further, get a mage hand and get it to throw potions at you. Much better than wasting an action and a level 5 spell slot on a heal, I'll be honest with you. Short rests are extremely common. If you have a bard at level 2, they can give you Song of Rest. So you should always have you should always be using your short rest. So that's 2, potentially 3, making this kind of garbage. Planar Binding. I would say it's a little bit better than Dominate Person. It's the same kind of idea though. You're just going to try it. You're going to hold a concentration on controlling them. Every time they get attacked, they have to succeed a saving throw or else they can break free of it. So yeah, both of these are situational, but just not amazing. Next, we have Seeming. Seeming is okay. It transforms the whole part. This isn't F tier. It's more a roleplay tier. You can transform your entire party of 4 into different targets or different creatures. It's kind of like the spell Disguise Self, but for your team. It's more so for role playing. I wouldn't say to use it often. Sights of the Seelie, summon Diva. So if you have a cleric, summon their planar ally, you can get a Diva, which is great because they get Revivify. They also get to attack and deal a good amount of damage. They can fly, and they have Wrathful Smite. I would say that this is an easy S tier as well. Any summon is going to be useful because it turns the action economy in your favor. So you have an extra action. They take hits for you. And the Diva in particular can also revive your team. It's great. The Elemental's a little bit better in my opinion because it can set up water. And then you have the Mirror Madon forms as well that you can take a level 6 spell. But even the Summon Diva is great. It says it's a level 5 spell, but it actually uses a level 6 spell slot. So just a little heads up there. This is a little cheat. It is S tier for sure, but it's not really a true level 5 spell. Next we got Telekinesis. So I would say Telekinesis is, a lot of people don't like it, but it's, it's fun to throw someone around like that. It's a very situational spell, but I want to put it probably top of the B tier or A tier, somewhere around there. Where it really shines is if you have someone that's really far away from you, you want to bring them close, or the easiest opportunity, we'll put it in the A tier for this reason alone. Telekinesis, you can grab someone, yeet, throw them off a cliff, they gone. If you know that they don't have really great use, or really great loot, or loot that you don't want, send them down a chasm. Goodbye. Right swipe, you're gone. It's fun. That's why I'm putting it in the A tier. While it's useful, it's definitely more useful than a lot of these other spells. Probably realistically a B tier, but in the situations where Telekinesis pays off, it's so much fun. This is a fun spell, so I have to put it in the A tier because the enjoyment factor, but also when you do yeet someone off of a chasm, that just feels great, and it's very useful. You can take out a bunch of health in just one single action. That's awesome. And finally, we have Wall of Stone. They're weak to force and thunder damage. They have 30 health points each, I believe. Situational at best. That's really all these ones here are all situational for sure. These are the higher tier situational, but again, situational. That's really all I can say about Wall of Stone. It's nice to be able to set up those walls for defense purposes, and if you're big-brained, you can find some usefulness for that, but it's one of those spells that you're almost just better doing a Hold Monster, a Cone of Cold, a Conjure Elemental. These should be done outside of combat, but that is my tier list of level 5 spells. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm always curious to hear other people's thoughts on these because sometimes you get better use out of other spells in certain situations. So just share your thoughts with me, please. If you found this video fun or useful, please hit that subscribe button below. I appreciate any and all support, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.